Hi, this is Joe Scott, and welcome back to School at Home. I am here with my friend Rebecca Berry, and we are here to talk again about how we are getting through this time with schooling at home. Rebecca's going to go first today.
I'm going to start us off today, and we are going to talk about common homeschool issues. Just a second. I can either mute myself or show you the slideshow. So, okay, here we go. So these are issues. Most of them my husband came up with. He listed off like a ton of issues that we have every day at our house. And he's like, why don't you talk about those? So that's what we're going to do. So the first one is your child doesn't want to do school, or your child doesn't want to stop playing to do school, which are similar and I think can be handled in a similar way. I think you need to remember, even now, so we've been doing school for several months, but if your kid is still fighting you every day, I think it's okay to back it down and just spend a few weeks establishing a routine. So my suggestion would be to spend 15 to 30 minutes after breakfast and 15 to 30 minutes after lunch on school activities. The reason why I'm choosing after breakfast and after lunch is because then you're not stopping any play. You're also tagging those activities for school onto something that's going to happen every day. So your child knows I eat breakfast, which is going to happen every day, and then we do school, which is also going to happen every day. So this helps them understand that school is a fixture of their life, and the structure helps them know what to expect. With my kid that likes to play the most and hates school the most, he just had to know. It was hard for him when he thought I was just going to call him to stop playing at any time. It could just happen anytime. And so once he understood, here's what you can expect, that helped him to not be as frustrated when I did say it's time for school. So then the idea would be to gradually increase the schedule until you're doing everything you need to. And as you increase it, in our house, we still do a big hunk at breakfast and a big hunk after lunch with my hardest student. And so sometimes the hunk is so big that we might need to take a brain break in the middle or two. But if you do that, you need to be very clear with the kid. Use a timer, say this is a 2-minute break, or say for this break, we're gonna dance to 2 songs on the radio. Or you say for this break, you need to run around the house 5 times, so that the kid understands this is not, now you get to go play for an hour. This is just to get their brain working again and help them to succeed over a long period of school. The next one, your kids can't stop fighting or arguing. So there's a lot of online resources, a lot of books that can help you with this. Now, fighting and arguing are normal. I'm talking about if this is all day. If you have one kid that's picking on another kid all day long, you don't want to have that be established as how things go in your house. You want to be telling them consistently throughout the day. At our house, we show people respect. And then maybe even if they're disagreeing about something, role play, how does that look to show respect even when you disagree? How does that look to show respect even though your sibling is using the colored pencil that you wanted to use? And some people who have a lot more training than me even say, have the kid do it right and have the kid do it wrong, or do it with puppets. One puppet does it right, one puppet does it wrong, so that the kid has a chance to succeed in both cases. And then later, when they're not showing respect, it's really important to have them redo it correctly, so that they're redoing it every time and getting a chance to do it right. You're not just stopping them at doing it wrong, so they're just practicing doing it wrong over and over. You want to stop them and then have them practice doing it right. Something else that I found is that if each kid has their own space, even if you can't give each kid their own bedroom, if they just have a corner with a beanbag chair in it that's their space, this can help with tension between siblings. Another thing, if your kids are having big emotions, I'm really angry, I'm really frustrated, helping them label those emotions helps move it from just the emotional side of the brain to the logical side of the brain, so their logical side of the brain can start helping them logic their way through the problem instead of their emotional side just running amok. And there's a lot of strategies online. I think we've talked about some of them. It's about just helping them learn self-control, helping them learn to calm themselves down when they are feeling big emotions. One other thing would be to work with, if you have two kids who are arguing, have them brainstorm some possible solutions and pick one that both kids are okay with. And lots of times that goes way better than I think it will. They're way more reasonable than I think they will be, or their solution isn't as strict as what I would have come up with. Okay, so an unmotivated learner. So this is when they're doing school, but they're doing junk, or they are just sitting there not doing school for a long period of time. So it helps to figure out your kid's learning style. If you're trying to teach them with your learning style and it doesn't fit their learning style, that's going to be really hard for them to engage. This was from one of my friends who's been a homeschool mom for a long time. She suggested this book called 102 Top Picks for Homeschool Curriculum by Kathy Duffy, and said it really helped her understand her kids' learning style. Another strategy is to be really close by. You may not be directly interacting with your kid, but if you're just sitting next to them when they're doing those things that are really hard for them, that helps. And this is actually a tip I learned when I was a public school teacher. Proximity is important, and it can really help, especially when someone's struggling. Another thing I would recommend, this was probably my biggest regret, was that I didn't use natural consequences enough. Instead, I'd bring in the heavy duty discipline because I didn't know how to be a parent and a teacher at the same time. But I think when you have someone that doesn't want to do their work, natural consequences are really going to help you a lot more than other discipline methods per se. So for example, if they don't get their school done in time for when their favorite show is on, they're still going to be doing their school then. And so you're communicating this so they know what to expect, but that's a natural consequence. Or they have to sit with mom at the park and do their work while their siblings play because they didn't get their work done. Just whatever fits in your context. Basically, the idea is just, you don't get to move to the next thing until you finish what I've given you. Joe, do you have anything to add about that?
No, I love that. And it's really is just reminding them, so this is what we have to do. And if they say, I don't want to do that. And earlier this week I said, okay, that's fine. You don't have to, but it's now or it's later, but it's still gonna get done. And nothing else really needs to be said. And then they think, okay, now.
Right. And I think something else that you shared in the first video is that you're the adult. I don't know if it was the first or second one. You don't have to yell at them. You don't have to you don't have to scream. You're the adult. This has to happen. I'm the adult. You're the student. It's going to happen either now or later, like Joe said. And also in week 2, Joe shared some strategies for learners when they're having trouble paying attention. And so we're going to put the resources again in this week's video description so that you have those available again, because I think they're really helpful. This is a really big problem at my house. So this year is our first year where we have 2 kids in full-blown elementary school and 2 kids in full-blown middle school, and they're all trying to do their school at the same time, and everybody thinks that mom should be able to help them at least 3 seconds after they need help. Like 5 seconds is an insult, basically. So what we're doing this year is what Donnie calls the take a number system. So each kid has a ticket with his or her name on it. And if they need help and I'm already busy helping someone else, they give me their ticket. And the idea is that then they know I'm not going to forget them and they're in line. So sometimes I'll have 3 tickets in line and I'll be helping kid number 4, but then they know I'm going to get to them. Another idea, one of my friends who has 7 kids, I think, she has a minute by minute schedule. So she's scheduled, like if she has to do reading one-on-one with each of her kids, she's scheduled their day so the other kids are doing easier tasks while she's doing reading. Another thing she uses a lot is having her older kids help her younger kids. This hasn't worked as well at my house. It works some days, not others. It just kind of depends. But you might have a situation where you have a 6th grader who can sit by a 1st grader while they do their math and help them read the questions. The thing that I think is most important that I need to work on more at our house is just to set appropriate expectations. Just keep saying, you might have to wait. If you give me your ticket, I'd like you to keep working. In my house, they need to keep working on the ones they can do. So if they're stuck on math problem number 5, I want them to look at math problem number 6 and see if they can do that. Or if they're totally stuck on math, they can set that aside and pick up a different book. But they shouldn't be going down to play with Legos or play hockey in the basement with everybody because I'm not ready to help them. They need to stay on task, but wait quietly, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. The last thing is chores. When you're doing school at home, it can feel really overwhelming if mom or dad is trying to teach and to plan all the teaching and do all the chores and do all the parts of running a household. So at our house, each child has a daily chore that they do. So for instance, they do the dishes, they do the laundry, they tidy up their spaces. And then also each child has a weekly chore, which is like, it takes a little bit longer. It's going to take more than 10 minutes probably for them to do their weekly chore. And we are doing those on Fridays now. We do a little bit less school and then we do cleanup. So then on Saturdays, we just get a rest day basically. And again, my kids were laughing. I had them proofread my PowerPoint and they were like, set the expectation and be consistent in the face of grumbling. And they're all laughing because they know they're all grumbling about their chores. And so now they've kind of seen my playbook and how I'm just going to keep making them do the chores. But that is important. I think it's easy when we're tired to be like, I'll just do it myself. But in the long run, that's not going to help your kids and it's not going to help you. All right, next, Joe is up.
So today I'm going to talk about the expectation that we have for our preschoolers and younger students. I've been seeing a lot on different mom blogs and different homeschooling blogs of parents talking about what do I do for homeschooling a preschooler or a kindergartner. I've seen some others on other groups of poor moms saying that my preschooler is not here for homeschooling. She told her dad, I hate being schooled at home. And I said, oh, that's really, yes, that's really sad. And that hurts my heart for that mom. And what do I do to help my kid enjoy being schooled at home? And so the first thing is to take a lot of that weight off of yourself. This is a tiny human. And the biggest thing that a tiny human, and that for me, that's age 3 to about 6 or 7, is the biggest learning experiences they're going to get is literally experience. And that is from play and from interacting with other people. And that sounds really intimidating right now in the world of COVID. And so I'm going to talk through some of the things that we do around here. It's school. It's school for my 4-year-old, but it's not sitting down at the table. It's not doing anything formally. And it's fun. So I don't consider myself the fun mom, but all things said and done, she is doing school. She is learning more because they are like sponges at that age. So if you are a mom or a dad of a preschooler through first grade age, this is definitely for you. Now, one of the best things about schooling at home that Rebecca's talked about before is that you don't have to start keeping track of time until they're 7 if they have not been enrolled in public school. So that means that you can use the recommended amounts of times given for kids that age. With that in mind, the recommended amount of time of formal education for a 4 to 5-year-old is 15 minutes. That's it. 15 minutes. So that means on a typical day with my 4-year-old, that means we will do ABCs, maybe. We will practice writing if she's interested in that day. And that is literally the thought is, are you interested in working? And sometimes she'll tell me yes, and sometimes she'll tell me no. And if it's a yes day, we get out papers and we color and we draw, and she does the stuff with her brothers, and she'll play with manipulatives and all of those things. And if it's a no day, then we set out on an adventure in the house. And what does an adventure in the house look like? It is whatever her adventurous spirit decides to do that day. So she's in the Legos and she's building a kingdom and she's doing her own story. And it's not that doesn't sound like learning, but imaginative play is such strong learning for every single one of those ages, from preschool to first grade. Imaginative play, even in those classrooms in public school, that is centers for those areas. And so she has kitchen stuff. When the boys were little and we didn't have a kitchen set, they had cabinets in the kitchen that they knew they can get into. And those were open cabinets. It's usually pots and pans and Tupperware and things. And they got into all of the things. She goes outside, and that is a great thing that the pandemic has done, is it has given her more of a freedom for outside, because it's given me that time to say, you know what, that's gonna be a great place for you. So we go outside and she collects. Lord bless her heart, she collects. So she collects acorns, and so we can talk about what we do with acorns. And she collects leaves, and we talk about what to do with leaves. And she collects critters. Whew, she's the only one that collects critters, and we talk about critters. And then we take the critters back outside. But these are all things that are learning and absorbing every bit of knowledge for a preschooler. So it's, how do you be fun for a preschooler? You let that preschooler play. Play, play, play. Because that is learning. And it's so, we don't need to be in the mindset of they're not going to be caught up. You can ask your preschooler some pretty wild things and they'll know it and it'll surprise you. You really want to get them going, you put some music on in the background. And it can be ABC music. It can be rhyming songs. Nursery rhymes are great for rhyming. It can be just about anything kind of music, because they absorb it like a sponge. We are a very, very musical family in this house, and so there are definite age-appropriate songs she'll sing, and then there's some nice 90s pop that she'll sing also. So music has always proved to be a great conduit for learning, and littles latch onto that. If you are a screen-using family, there are, again, so many avenues that you can just get 5 minutes of screen time in. And they're like, whoa, I just learned this big number. This week I got to ask, Mom, how do we count to 100? We're going to do that one day. That's going to be a big one. But don't put that pressure on yourself to be fun. They find their fun. Just step back. That pressure is not on you. There's her fun right there. I don't know what she's doing, but she thinks it's a great time. The other thing we do is cook in my house. And we let her be a part of as much cooking as she wants to be, because that's something that interests her. And I say we because it is my husband that is the one that will cook with her. He has a bit more patience with that, and he'll put the bowl in the sink and put her on a chair at the sink and then let her cook in the sink. And so the whole mess is in the sink. But that's, again, learning, and it's muscle movement and motor skills and all of those things that they need to build onto as they go older. We still read books. She knows how to write her name. I honestly don't know how she figured that out because it wasn't something that was explicitly taught. So that's what I'm talking about, is you don't have to put your pressure on yourself to make sure they're caught up. They absorb everything that is happening around them. And then if you have another one that's younger, that one absorbs it even faster and faster and faster. If you push for them to be ahead of people, they're going to be very, very ahead. And there is no problem with that. What you may run into is a point about second grade where they've been reading ahead of everybody, and then you've run out of appropriate books for them to read. And that becomes a frustrating point. So that's why I haven't pushed this one to read like I did with the other two. Doesn't mean that you can't. But it does take a lot of pressure that I don't want my 4-year-old reading like I did with the other two. Mm-hmm. So take a step back, mamas. It's okay to just let them be. Mm-hmm. Preschool is okay. We do crafts. We do crafts. There's crafts on my window behind me. And we paint the windows and we find leaves and stuff like that because I am that free expression mama. But do what you need to do, and then teach them how to fold clothes. Those will be the most lopsided towels you have ever seen in your life, but that's a square today. That's right. Yeah. So that's about all that I have for you guys.
Yeah.
Give yourselves a break, and it's okay to breathe and not have to do school for a preschooler. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. And we have a poll on the page because what do you want to talk about? Yes. So on Facebook. So let us know what you want to talk about, and we'll see you soon.